a surefire strategy to grow your wholesale revenue on Amazon, even with a shoestring budget and very thin margins. Hi, my name is Matt, and I help people grow their sales online. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. I'm going to share my screen with you here, and I'm going to show you some current returns I'm getting from one of my clients, and then I'm going to show you what I did and why. So this is about the last 30 days for this client. And what we're doing is we're currently doing about $75 in spend, and we're getting about a $2,300 in sales return. That's an ACoS of about 3.2%. We've generated just under 100,000 unique impressions in that time. Okay, so how do you do it, right? You've got a very thin margin. Typically with wholesale products in general, you have a much thinner margin than you might with private label or white label. In addition, you may not have the same interest in developing the brand IP, right? You might already have thinner margins, and there's beyond the cost, the profit that you'll make in the sale, there's not a whole lot of intrinsic value in building up that brand, right? You're a wholesaler. It's not typically your brand, and you typically don't have those individual relationships, especially if you're on a shoestring budget or you're relatively new, or we'll just say not as established, not as commercially established seller, right? So you might have a thin budget, a thin amount of money that you can spend total on Amazon advertising, and your margins might be already thin already. So why do this, right? Well, it's because if you're selling wholesale, you're probably, even if you're priced just right, even if you are in good standing with Amazon, you're typically selling products that are not unique, meaning you're one of however many other competitors that share a piece of the buy box, right? So advertising is a great way to sort of increase the velocity, the top line of your sales, get more bites at the apple. Some go-to-market strategies even call for taking a loss initially, right, to build up that conversion engine. Each successful conversion helps your Amazon store, your Amazon listings rank higher for future searches, which means your cost per acquisition, your cost per click should go down, all things being equal, right? So this is a way to sort of speed up the process, especially when you're competing in a slog of other sellers offering essentially the same products and services that you products in this case, right? So with a shoestring budget, you really don't have the ability to offer unique campaigns for each product, right? So I like to do what we call an auto catch-all, right? Which is where we use an auto sponsor product campaign, which is very meat and potatoes. Anybody who's done any Amazon advertising knows about that, right? You dump all your products into a single, sponsored product campaign, right? And then you let the auto targeting do the work for you. That casts a very wide net. Obviously, the relevancy across products is going to be, depends on what you're selling, but could be very, very low, right? So those search term reports are not going to be as clean. But again, it's about generating bites at the apple, impressions, clicks, and sales for cheap. You can still use the search term data that you're getting and the brand analytics data if you do have a brand IP registered store, and that should help you. If that data is inconclusive, then you go to a third-party tool like Helium or ZonGuru or Jungle Scout or any one of those, right? Okay, so we've got a couple campaigns running here, but I want to focus on the all products because that's kind of what we're talking about today. This is doing, as you can see, basically all of, or at least the vast majority of our spending and ordering, right? So we're casting a very wide net, right? First thing I want to show you is the different types of products and how widely they range, right? So we've got all sorts. You can see some of them aren't even ineligible anymore. That means we probably run out of stock. This is wholesale. So as you wholesalers know, we're continually resourcing, restocking, right? So you've got everything from like staplers to dye to fertilizer, all sorts of products, right? There's not much relevancy across those boards. So the first thing I want to come back to is, so you've dumped all your products in. How do you set up the settings, right? How do you engage the behavior? First thing I like to do is actually a fairly large budget, right? $100 daily. For those of you that are familiar with Amazon advertising, that might seem a bit steep. But the reason is because budget is not actually what controls how much you spend on Amazon. In fact, even calling it budget is probably a misnomer. Really what it should be called is max spend, right? Which means that's the max amount you can possibly spend on that campaign. But how much you will spend is really more controlled by how much you're bidding on each target and the number of things you're targeting, right? It's controlled at the bid level far more than the budget level. But even budget signals to Amazon, right? So why the bigger budget? So you want to signal to Amazon, hey, give me some bites at the apple, I'm ready to, it's like walking into the casino and sort of fanning out your bills a little bit, right? You're letting them know you want to spend. But ultimately it's a sort of algorithmic trick because again, what you actually will spend is controlled at the bid level, right? Okay. So dynamic down only, I always want to start with that. If it's then not getting traction, I may go up or down, right? I might go to fixed. I will usually never start with dynamic up and down. Okay. By nature, an auto catch-all is a very wide net we're casting, right? So we want to be a wide net. The name of this game is wide net, conservative bidding. Liberal targeting, right? Target liberally, bid conservatively. It's a message that anybody on the political spectrum can get behind, right? So we're going to go dynamic down only because we've already got a very wide net. We're targeting liberally. Now we want to bid conservatively. So dynamic down only is the most conservative bid structure. That means we bid what we bid unless Amazon thinks we have a lower likelihood of conversion, and then we give them permission to sort of lower the bid automatically, not to raise the bid, only to lower the bid, right? Hence down only. Right. Okay. And what you also see here is I've actually done some placement adjustments. I don't actually typically recommend you start with this. This is one of the things that you can do as an augmentation, as a strategy to get better over time. Right. So why am I doing this here? I'll show you what I'm targeting, guys. I'm targeting way below target bids and then jacking up this top of search placement again for wholesale specifically, right? Because we don't have a unique product offering. We are offering the same products that potentially 10 or 20 other sellers are offering at the same price, right? So I want to beat my competition to the punch. And the way I do that is at top of search in particular, I want to be the very first thing you see when you search. So I'm willing to pay a little bit more here. Again, I don't think I would start that way. I would probably start this flat, which is 0, 0, right? Nothing added to the product page, nothing added to the top of search, and then see how it does. And then if it looks like I'm not getting enough impression share, because my bids are too conservative, this is a great way to sort of selectively get more aggressive, right? So this is an existing campaign that's run for a little while. It's been running for a couple months now. That's why I've come in here and made some changes since then. Okay, so going back to the targeting we were discussing, right? Going back to the conservative bidding, we've got all this liberal targeting, right? We're targeting all 4 match types in the auto campaign. We're targeting a lot of products in a lot of places, right? But what are we bidding, right? Extremely conservative, right? 15 cents for close match, right? These are the 4 match types, right? On auto campaigns, by the way, that's another video. Hover over the little I if you want to know what it means, right? It's just automatic targeting, but different behavior. Close matches, closely matched to your product, loosely matched. You've got substitute and complete. This is like auto product targeting, right? Products that complement your product. So it's all automatic, right? Machine learning targeting, right? You notice we've got some bid ranges here. These bid ranges are based on what they expect, based on what your competitors are bidding, what they expect to be a winning bid, right? So this is like 25th percentile, 75th percentile, and this is their suggestion right here. You can see we are way below that, right? Particularly with the substitutes and the complements, but even with the loose match, right? Again, that's my way of sort of preventing this thing from overspending. So I want to come in really low, and then, right, if I come back after a couple days and we've got this 8 impressions right here is across the board, right? Impressions, that's a measure of reach, right? It's the number of times your ad was displayed, not necessarily the number of times somebody engaged with your ad, but at least it was displayed while they were scrolling, right? They could have potentially engaged with it, right? So impressions is a rough estimation of reach. So if I come in here and this had been 8, 150, 25, 32, right? I would know that these bids are too conservative and I need to get a little bit more aggressive, or I could go get more aggressive by placement, which is to say, go back to that campaign settings adjustment and go up to top of search, right? Whatever, or maybe I think I'm going to convert well on a competitor's product page and I want to do it that way, whatever, right? But so I'll come in and as you can see, because of the wide net that I'm casting, even though these bids are extremely conservative, this is 30 days. I'm actually getting a fair range, at least with the close match and the loose match. That's a fair amount of traffic, right? And with 293 clicks and 88 clicks respectively, it's a fair number of bites at the apple, right? And you can see that's generating a bunch of orders, right? Now, I can hear some of you advertising students or gurus already asking, yeah, but, right, how much of that was branded search? how much of that might have been an organic sale anyway. Well, maybe some, right? That's a valid counterpoint. But again, with wholesale, even if they had found your product, would it have still been you that won the buy box, right? Versus an ad that you're displaying. So that's really the rub there. Is there's certainly going to be some cannibalization, but it's especially you want to do it in spurts, right? Because it's sort of an ability to speed up the top line, increase the velocity of traffic, engagement, and ultimately sales, right? And you're going to lose a little bit on margin. But the idea is each conversion is going to help your long-term cost per acquisition go down, right? And at these returns, spending $72, even if there's a fair bit of cannibalization, it's like, yeah, okay, but I spent $72 in 30 days. That's like nothing. And, even if that 2,300 was only 1,000 in unique sales, that's still a freaking good return, right? And especially at 87,000 additional bites of the app, that's additional pieces of engagement with the consumer that might buy my product that I wouldn't have had otherwise, right? So yes, with this, there's no way to avoid a good bit of cannibalization, and the search term reports are going to be dirty, right? There's no way to keep them clean with this much mixed products, right? You've got everything from RIT dye to hand soap, right? Like there's no continuity with this. You got to throw this out and rely on different data tools to identify, some of the cleaner search terms that you might want to use if you were going to segment things out and do manual targeting, right? But really, depending on how much margin you have and what your budget is, right? In many wholesale accounts, that's all you need to do. That can literally be it right there. You can set up one auto catch-all, dump all your products into it, wide net, keep the bids super low, then up them, 10 to 20% every couple of days until they start to get enough impression share that you're comfortable and they're getting good return. So that's it. That's a surefire strategy for all you wholesalers that are trying to make it by the skin of your teeth with those thin margins. Again, my name is Matt. I help people grow sales on Amazon. Please feel free to come and find me on my LinkedIn page. There's a link in the description. Add me on YouTube if you like this, got value from it. I appreciate you. Thanks for your time.